the Yisrael of Tisha B'Av, in order to come to what Tisha B'Av is supposed to do. Chazal say that the Mashiach was born on Tisha B'Av. And Kozma, you don't understand that the only day the Mashiach can be born is on Tisha B'Av, then you don't understand Tisha B'Av. It's not Shayach Avodas Hayoyim. We spoke a little bit about it in the past. Misabel on Beis Hamikdash, we don't have Beis Hamikdash, we don't have Korbanos. We're not going to really cry too much about it. Not that I'm pessimistic or skeptical, it's a mitzvah. Nobody is going to cry. Oh, we have no Beis Hamikdash. Oh, we have no Korbanos. And we're going to cry, we have no Shechina. But although Vadai Kol Bachina is something we should cry about, and we can cry about it, and that's Leidas Moshiach. Gemara in Ksubis, the Machvod on the day. This Gemara in Ksubis is the Yesod of, I think, the Pashtus Taich in Tisha B'Av. Tana Rabbona Maaseh Rav Yochanan ben Zakkai she'Yerechev alachamo v'yotzei miYerushalayim. Yochanan ben Zakkai went out of Yerushalayim. The Oyu Talmidei Malchim Achor. He saw a girl she'melaketes sa'irim mibein glolei behemton shel Arabiyim. Now here in Eretz Yisrael we know what Arabs are, and the Arabs have behemoths, and the behemoths produce manure. Dung. So you've got three dargas down. You've got the Arabiim and the Behemoths, and the lowest part of the Behemoths is the manure that they produce. And she was looking into the manure of the Behemoths to try to find some Sa'irim, some Michael Behemah that wasn't totally digested for her to eat. Kevon she'ras oisoy nisatvo b'sayra v'omda lefonav amrloi Rebbe Parnaseni amrloi biti miyan amrloi Bas Magdimoin ben Gurion. I'm the daughter of Magdimoin ben Gurion. Amrloi biti Moshe Beisovich. His father was one of the richest people in Eretz Yisrael who happened to your father's money. So it was lost. It's a different part. That's not the shmoosh today. Amra Rebbe Zocher Atok Shechtamt HaKsubasi. Remember you shot a Kiddushin, you chasm HaKsuba. Amra Em L'Talmida Zocher Anik Shechasamti HaKsubasa Shel Zu. I remember when I wrote the Ksuba. V'isi Keiri Bo Elef Alofim Dinrei Zohav V'Beis Aliyah. 1,000. 1,000,000 dinrei zahav. You know, dinar zahav, 1 dinar zahav is a fortune of money. 1,000,000 dinrei zahav mibeisa, via chut mishel chamina. Chut, they're called, half and half, the Shver gave it over the same thing. So, a couple of million dinrei zahav was her ksuba, so she's quite rich. And now she has to sink so low as to eat. She has to go and look into the manure, the dung of the Arab animals to try to find some. So easy. Vocha Rav Yochanan ben Zakkai ba'Omar. He cried. He said, Ashreichem Yisrael. How fortunate Klal Yisrael is, Bizman Shoisin Ritzoynei Shel Mokoim Ein Kol Umah V'lo Shoin Sholetes B'hem. When you're doing the right thing, then nobody can touch you. Bizman Shoisin Ritzoynei Shel Mokoim Lo Yischon B'yad Umah Shfeila V'lo B'yad Umah Shfeila B'yad Hemton Shel Umah Shfeila. And when you're not doing Ritzoynei Shel Mokoim, then you sink so low that you sink lower than any nation, and the lowest of all the nations of Amadim Elachamor, but not just you sink lower than the nations of Amadim Elachamor, you sink lower than the animals of this nation of Amadim Elachamor. Mefarshim here are taken by the expression Bochar Abiyechem Ben Zakai Poshut. But Ashreichem Yisrael, if you're crying, so what are you saying, Ashreichem Yisrael? Mashal explains what Ashreichem Yisrael, what the taich is. And the Mashal says that the Ma'il of Klal Yisrael is that every of Velosha and every nation has a Sar Moshe. The French have the Sar B'Shamayim, Sar of the French, Spanish, Portuguese, everybody has this Sar. Listen to Klal Yisrael. Klal Yisrael has no Sar. Chelek Hashem Amoy. Klal Yisrael directly with the boss himself. We don't deal with any Sar. We don't have any Sar B'Shamayim. We have the Kodesh Baruch. So the man choice in Chetzayt Hashem Walkoy saying Kalum V'Losha and Yecholim Nishleit Bohem. When we're connected to the Kushim Richo, then nobody can touch us. But if Chalila V'Chas Ein Oitzin Chetzayt Hashem Walkoy, and the Kodesh Baruch Hu Misalei Shechina Osleim Mehem, so that's it. There's nothing else. There's nothing in between. And every other goy, every other nation has a Sar, and the Sar doesn't care if they're tzaddikim or they're Rishoyim or if they're behemoths or whatever, how they act. The Sar B'Shamayim does whatever he can for them. He's their minister, he watches over them. And Klal Yisrael don't have that. If not for the Kodesh Baruch Hu, Klal Yisrael sink lower. Harei B'Shveilim V'Nivzim V'Kolumo Yisrael Sar L'Mazol Yisrael Ein Sar L'Mazol. The only time Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai could cry, because the tragedy of the matzav of Klal Yisrael is only after you realize the Ashreichem Yisrael. Now there's two things. There is what was, and there is the Metzias, which is still there, the potential. The tragedy is greater because of Ashreichem Yisrael. This is the nation, this is the great nation that should be above everybody else. So Sitcha Elyoin al Kol Goyei Haaretz, and look how far they sunk. If Klal Yisrael were born, Klal Yisrael were born lechatchila to be a nation that's nothing, a nation that's worse than the Arabs. If that's what Klal Yisrael were to begin with, there's nothing to cry over. That's it. But Klal Yisrael were Ashreichem Yisrael. You can't come to a bechi, you can't come to a crying unless you know Ashreichem Yisrael. The Yesod of Tisha B'Av. If you're crying, stop. What are you crying? What's this? There's no Beis HaMikdash. So what? Who has a Beis HaMikdash? America has a Beis HaMikdash. England has a Beis HaMikdash. No. So what are you crying? Oy, but Klal Yisrael, the Metzias of Klal Yisrael, was so how can you cry? You can't cry on Tisha B'Av until you come and picture the beauty of Klal Yisrael, the glory of Klal Yisrael, the destiny of Klal Yisrael. Oy. Otherwise, there was nothing to cry over. You know, right now, Klal Yisrael is better than any goy. There's no nation. Right now, Klal Yisrael, no matter what we are, we're better than any goy. We're better than the goy. So what are you crying over? We're 2,000 years in Golus and Baruch Hashem, what are you crying? Eretz is Ashreichem Yisrael. Eretz is what you have to think of, what of the potential and the godless and the chashivus. Eicha, the whole Yisod of Eicha is this Yisod. There's nothing else to Eicha without this. There's no stam Eicha Yoshva Vodod. No. Eicha Yoshva Vodod. Ha'ir Rabosiyam. Rabosi Vagoyim. Sorosi Bamdinos. Right away in the beginning of Eicha you have to build up. And you can't cry. B'shum Meifin. It's false tears. It's a sheker, the whole thing. Unless you know what Rabosi Yom means. Unless you know what Rabosi Vagoyim means. Unless you know what Sorosi Vamdinos means, then you can't cry. Nothing to cry over. The matter is gewaldig. What's there to cry over? Nothing to cry over. Oi, but when you come to Ashrechem Yisrael, when you come to the what Klal Yisrael is supposed to be, Tisha B'Av is the Yom of Ashrechem Yisrael, Bocha ve'Amar Ashrechem Yisrael, and you can't even shed one, you can't even crack unless you come to taste a little bit and to view the glory of Ashrechem. That's Avodas Hayom. And that's right at the beginning of Eichel. You have to come to this Rabbos Yom and then Rabbos Vagoyim and Soros Vamdinos. That's Avodas Hayom. There's no shayla about it. Otherwise, it's nothing to talk about. Otherwise, it's a wasted day. It's gone. And there's no churban. Churban from what? Baruch Hashem, things are gewaldig, things are great, things are good. There's no churban. You have to come to the whole picture with the Kodesh Baruch Hu wanted. Atem tiyu l'mamlech al-Kohanim, the Goy Kodosh. We also l'migdosh v'shochanti b'soicham. And you have to have the whole picture of how it was with the Kodesh Baruch Hu, b'soichenu, with the Shechina b'golui, and how Klal Yisrael were. Then you can start Eicha. What happened? And then you could taste Churban. So there's no shayla that Chilas Avodas Tisha B'Av is Ashrechem Yisrael. And you can spend the whole day on Ashrechem. And you won't be Yotzer. Because you won't even get anywhere near the godless. But spend time on it. And work on it. Ashrechem. One of the keynotes, and I think this is the keynote that is the major keynote that it ties up the Avodas Hayom. Keynote Lamed Aleph. Eish tukad b'kirbi. Fire burns. And he touches it up, a fire of joy. Ma'loisi alibi b'tzeisim in Mitzrayim. And he goes through the whole, on Tisha B'Av, on Yoshia Moshe, Shilo Yinoshe b'tzeisim in Mitzrayim, Beisi Yitzchaynon, b'shochan onon b'tzeisim in Mitzrayim, Igale Yom Romu b'chachayim l'komu, Degan Shomayim, Mon, Mitzur Yozubu Mayim, the bear, Hashke v'hare, Sivus ha'choyre, v'machak kvoid Hashem, Selach u'mincha, Chagim v'shabbosois, Toivu yoholim, Yoivel v'shvita, Kaperes v'oroin, Leviyim v'ahoinim, all that Moshe Yereinu, v'aroin yanchenu, Narech Melchama v'Hashem Shama v'tzeitim v'tzeitim. And it's going through all of the beauty and all of the godless of Klal Yisrael when the Kodesh Baruch Hu took us out of Mitzrayim. Dvarim nifloim. After I say one verse of the Tzeisim in Mitzrayim, then I can cry of Kini Ma'ira Leman Azkira b'Tzeisim Yerushalayim. But this has to come first. First has to come the Tzeisim in Mitzrayim. First has to come the beauty and all of the godless and all the chashivus. So there's no shak, there's no bechi b'chlal. Until I come back to the picture of the Tzeisim in Mitzrayim. And there's no shayla that if you sit, you don't have to even read the second verse of the Tzeisim, of the Bechi V'Tzeisim Yerushalayim. Just read the first verse in each one of the beauty of the Tzeisim Mitzrayim, and you're going to cry. That's the Bocha. Ashrechem Yisrael is going to bring Bocha. But you know what? the Bechi of Tisha B'Av, that's the first din. The first din, there is no shayachus bichlal of any Bechi on Tisha B'Av until you come to Ashreichem Yisrael. That's Aleph. That doesn't mean Mashiach is born. The Bechi of Tisha B'Av Rabbeisai is not allowed to be a Bechi of Yush. There's no Yush. Yush is just as trace on Tisha B'Av as this the rest of the year, and I'll go one step further. Yush is more trace on Tisha B'Av than it is the rest of the year. Atzvus, depression. Atzvus is also on Tisha B'Av. Atzvus is also on Tisha B'Av as it is the rest of the year. Atzvus is Aviyah V'Satuma. I'm crying. You know that you're crying. While you're crying, you know what? While you're crying, you have simcha. Because a Yid never cries tears of Yush, of Oivei. By Yid, no such thing. Because by a Yid, there's always the future. And I'm crying over the past in order to bring back the future. Because how does this Kino Lam and Aleph end up? Sosoi v'simcha v'nos yogoin v'anocha v'shuvi l'Yerushalayim. It's Tisha B'Av. You're sitting on the floor. You're crying. Sosoi v'simcha v'nos yogoin v'anocha v'shuvi l'Yerushalayim. Wait till after Tisha B'Av. No. On Tisha B'Av, you're sitting on the floor, and Sosoi v'simcha v'nos yogoin v'anocha v'shuvi l'Yerushalayim. Because that's the Bechi of Tisha B'Av. The Bechi of Tisha B'Av, you know what? There's no absolute. The more you cry on Tisha B'Av, the happier you are. Again, the more you're zoichet to the Bechi ha'amiti, that's Avodas Hayoim of Tisha B'Av, the more simcha you have ba'oisa Hayoim Tisha B'Av. Because this is Klal Yisrael, this is Ashreichem Yisrael, and this is what's in store for us, and this is the Shuvi L'Yerushalayim. And that's the taich of Kol HaMisavel Al Yerushalayim Zoiche V'Roye B'Sibechosa. I heard it from Moshe Schwab, Zechron Levrocha, Mashgiach in Gateshead. He was in Lakewood on Tisha B'Av and he gave the shmuz. And he said, while you're Misavel, it's a Tov Gomor there, whoever thinks that it's a Haftocha Le'osid of Kol HaMisavel Al Yerushalayim Yizke L'Roye B'Sibechosa, it's a Tov. Zeiche v'roye b'simchasa ve'avelus. The avelus shows you the simcha. Because there's no avelus unless it's Ashreichem Yisrael. It's not Stam avelus, it's Ashreichem Yisrael. It's the Tzeitzim Yerushalayim, all of the pictures of the Tzeitzim Yerushalayim all in front of me. And in front of me as well is the Soso in the Simcha v'nos yodei v'anocha v'shuvi Yerushalayim. So Rav Dessler says the same thing. You know that Tisha B'Av is the man of Simcha Tzuma. It's Simcha, nicht Simcha Nifloyo. It's a Simcha that only comes to be Mitzabel on the Churban Keneged Ashreichem Yisrael. But you know, I don't even think we should, Cholila, I'm not saying. Our avodah on Tisha B'Av is not even so much on Churban Beis HaMikdash. Because, good, Churban Beis HaMikdash, Eretz Yisrael, avodah Hayom of Tisha B'Av of every Yochid is his Egin Churban. Your Churban, what's your Churban? Where are you holding? Where are you holding? Now, so where am I holding? Not bad. Better than everybody in the streets. 100%. But let's go back to the Ashreichem Yisrael. And let's go back to the picture that the Kodesh Baruch had in store for you. And let's look at, first of all, I want to say, being at the end of this month, end of the year, that it was a year fruitful for everybody. It was Nifla Moed. And there was a lot of steiging. There was a lot of Atzlacha. There's no Shiloh. Is that it? That's the best it could have been? This is what the Kodesh Baruch had in mind. There's no Shiloh, you have to have Gvaldik Simcha. You're not even going to start anything unless you have Simcha on the Yesh, on the Atzlach. But then when you have Simcha on the Atzlach, on Tisha B'Av, with Cheshvan HaNefesh, but instead the Atzlach I had with the amount of effort that I put in, if I would have worked harder, what would it have been? And picture yourself a year of more Atzlach. Picture an Ashreichem Yisrael, me. It's a better year. The harder work on Tefillah, on Yerushalayim, on Asmod. What would I look like today? Had I worked harder this year? And then cry. Otherwise you can't cry. Otherwise you should have a simcha, a suda on the atzloch of a gewaldige year. And you should have a simcha on a gewaldige year. But then think about the Ashreichem Yisrael, what it could have been. And then you can cry. What are you going to cry over? I'll tell you what to cry over. Cry over every tefillah that you missed, every shachrit that you didn't get up. Cry. Because you should. Because you would be a different person if you had gotten up to shachrit. Cry over every shachrit you came late for and you had to skip Sukkot Zibra. Because you'd be a different person if you'd say Sukkot Zibra, K'mo Shemayne Moya, Yithoidu LaHashem, Yithoid, Ahiru, B'Shmoi, and you would say the Hallelujahs and you'd say everything, you'd be a different person today. Cry over every Seder that you didn't come on time and you didn't learn the 4-hour Seder in the morning. You didn't learn. Cry. Be happy at what you did learn, but think, how did I learn? Copy that, connected that, my matzah, it could be only connected, the potential could by matzah be considered a churban, otherwise it's gewaldig. It's taka gewaldig. We're better than people in the street. We have to have gewaldig. Ashreinu Matevcha Kevin was sitting in the Beis HaMedrash. We're learning Torah. We're steiging. It's gewaldig. But not compared to the Ashreichem Yisrael. The Yesod of Tisha B'Av is to come to my churban, and in my churban to come to Sosa and V'Simcha V'Nas Yoga and V'Anocha V'Shuvi L'Yerushalayim, and the parallel to that by my Yechidim, by my Egin life, is I have another year coming. And this coming year I have already Sosa and V'Simcha right now. V'Nas Yoga and V'Anocha V'Shuvi L'Yerushalayim, because this next year is going to be Nifla. Oh, it's going to be. Why is it going to be Nifla Moed? Because on Tisha B'Av I cried on my churban. And I already saw the Yeshua. And that's called Leidas Mashiach. Only that can bring Mashiach. There's no other way on this earth that Mashiach can get born until you have the combination of the Ashreichem Yisrael and crying that you're not there, and the She'ifa, the burning desire to get there, and the knowledge that you can get there, and it only depends on your Ratzon, and if while you're crying over what you didn't do, you have a desire and ambition, I'm going to do it, then you're going to get there, and that's Mashiach. That's your own Mashiach, your own life, and that's the Mashiach of God. You can't calculate this Mashiach. There can't be any binyan without a Tisha B'Av Kedasu Kedin. Kifi Amahala Chazeh. But otherwise, Tisha B'Av is wasted. It's time it goes. So this is Tisha B'Av. And this is Poshut Shah. Ma'isoinen Odom Chai, says the Novi Yirmiyahu. What are you crying over? Gever al Chator. Only on your Chator. So therefore what? So cry? No. Not so drachenu v'nach keira. So make a cheshbon hanefesh. And that Tisha B'Av, a cheshbon hanefesh. This is my chet, this is my churban, this is my shortcoming. V'nashuva ad Hashem. That's partial. Says Rav Dessler, it's so partial, it's a partial to an holiday, you don't need Rav Dessler for it. There's a whole Seder HaDvarim. It starts with Tisha B'Av, or the 3 weeks. Or really, you need to understand it starts with Asar B'Teves. Of Churban. And then Churban comes Nechama. And after Nechama comes Tshuva. And after Tshuva comes Simcha. That's the days of the year. Of, and then Nechama, Shiva de Nechemta, the whole Elul of Tshuva, the Rosh Hashanah, and then Simchas Torah. It's not Simchas Seinu. Not Simchas Seinu. You know, the Zman Simchas Seinu starts now, and there's no Zman Simchas Seinu. If you don't have a good Tisha B'Av, you're not gonna dance on Simchas Torah the way you're supposed to. But dance in Simchas Torah, what Simchas Torah, when do I? A good Tisha B'Av. A leiv nishbar, based on the ashrechem, on the potential, on what it could have been. A geshmaka Tisha B'Av creates nechama, tshuva, simcha. Kol ha-mesavala Yerushalayim zoiche v'royer simcha, so you see the simcha in front of you. You can taste the simcha. It's right there. And it gives you idud. There's no yiyush. There's no atzvus, no depression. There's ambition. There's rotzah. And all of this ambition and rotzah comes to tshuva, and it's going to lead to the gewaltige simcha. On Tisha B'Av, the best thing you could do is to think about how great you could be. To think about, and then to find and pinpoint your churban. What is my churban? My churban in Atzmus, my churban in Taivus, my churban in Aveirus, my churban in this, in that midah, in this midah. That's Tisha B'Av. And to let each one hurt you. So, Yerushalayim will be built when you're built. You build yourself. And that's your churva achas mechurvas Yerushalayim. And when you build yourself, then you're building Yerushalayim. Well, you're going to build the Beis Hamikdash? Yeah. You're building yourself. And that's your job. And that's your worry. And that's your churba. And that's your bechi. And that's your simcha. And on Tisha B'Av, there's nothing better you could do than learn those svarim that talk about godless, she'ifos, what could be. The sefer over here, I'm happy was bought. Nobody alive, in my opinion, wrote a sefer similar to anything like this. And I was looking at Haskomis, the Gedolei Hador, and they say that, I don't think anybody else wrote a sefer, but the Gedolei Hador had so much inspired. I learned that I was spoiled in this Chazik, sefer called Akash Ra'alti. Are you allowed to learn Musar on Tisha B'Av? I'm not a posting. I don't know if you're allowed to learn Musar on Tisha B'Av L'Shem Linu. But I want you b'chuyev to be oived on Musar. Any sefer that's part of Avodas Hayoim is not Musar, it's a chayva. Any sefer that will bring you to realize your chisroinus. Avada. Allowed to, that's the chayva Hayoim. A sefer that talks about godless and she'ifos, chayvas hayoim. A sefer that will point out what midas royas are, it's chayvas hayoim. It's not called learning Musar, that's called living Musar. That's called avodas hayoim of Tisha B'Av. There's no need going, there's no dealing on that. Any safer at all along those lines, that's Avodas Hayoim much. And you need both. You need the Ashreichem Yisrael. And there are Svarim that talk about Ashreichem Yisrael. And then you need to come and see what it means, the Churban. And then the sin is that there's no greater simcha than the simcha of a person who has a richtige Tisha B'Av. He's zoiche deroya b'shas havelus. And you want to know if you are yoytze Tisha B'Av or not? I'll tell you if you're yoytze Tisha B'Av. I'll tell you a way of knowing if you're yoytze Tisha B'Av. If you have, during you're sitting on the floor, and let's say you're crying, whatever you're doing, you taste the simcha of the Yeshua in your mouth, b'shas Tisha B'Av, then you are yoytze Tisha B'Av. If you are zoiche lirois b'simchasa, then it's the simon that you're misavo on the churban. And if you weren't zoiche and you had no simcha on Tisha B'Av, then you weren't misavo kedas. Because that's clear. That's Chazal say, Kol ha misavo al Yerushalayim zoiche v'roya b'simchasa b'shas avelus. That's our avodah. Our avodah is to be moilid Mashiach. It's clear. Our avodah hayoim is to bring forth Mashiach. And our own life, our own Yeshua, that's avodah hayoim. Itein HaKadosh Baruch Hu, shekulanu kalecha v'yechad, shekulanu b'yachad, should be zeichet mekayim avodah hayoim, to realize the Ashreichem Yisrael, to give birth to the Mashiach, our own Yeshua, in our own Churbanos, and to be Zeiche on Tisha B'Av to feel the Simchas HaYeshua, and the Payal, the Korei Kulanu, Sosoin, the Simcha, Nas Yogoin, V'anocha, V'shuva Yerushalayim.